Hi guys, welcome to the fourth video of the Golang monolith to microservice project. And in the third video, we wrote a lot of code, but we didn't really understand what's happening, right? Especially these variables, shop rabbit, MQ address, and shop other order service address. What's happening here? I wasn't able to explain to you because I was running on a short timeline. So in this video, I want to start tackling that. All right. A lot of the answers regarding this you will get in your Docker Compose file. Now we're going to be using Docker Compose, right, in this particular video. So let me start writing the Docker Compose file, and automatically you'll start seeing the answers to all the confusions that you may be having. Now, using Docker Compose, we want to start about 4 different services, all right? The first service, I'll put a tab here. The first service that I want to build is called monolith, because at the same time our Docker Compose file, when we say Docker Compose up, what we want to happen is that the monolith service will also be online, and also the same project with three different microservices will also be online, and that's how we'll be able to compare both of them, right? So let me explain it to you again. When we run Docker Compose command, Docker Compose run, the project that will build and start will have one service which will be a complete monolith service, and then 3 different microservices: orders, payment, and shop, which the monolith already contains, but we want to also see them as 3 different microservices so that we can compare monolith and microservices projects at the same time. Okay, so we'll have 4 services, like I said: the monolith service, then you have your orders service, then you have your payments and your shop. Okay, so you'll say payments and your shop. Now in your monolith service, you'll have the build command, and here I'll just put a dot here for building, and then there will be an entry point into the project, right? For now, just keep it empty. I also want to define the ports. Put a tab here again, put this dash, and I want this to run on port 8090. So port 8090 will be exposed to the users. Like if we want to interact with it using Postman, we'll have to hit port 8090. And here I'll say environment. Now when I start writing the environment variables, everything will start making sense to you. Okay, so here the environment variable that I want to use is shop monolith binding address, and in my case it's 8080 here. Okay, apart from environment, I also want to put the volumes, but I'll keep this empty for now. All right, or actually let me just add the volumes anyways. So don't get confused, all right? I'm just adding the volumes right now, but don't get confused if you don't understand it, because I've not explained this to you. Go project, when I'm saying go project directory, it's basically accessing the root of the project, and it's saying the entire CMD folder is one volume and /pkg $go project directory /pkg. So I've added 2 volumes. I'll explain to you later. Even if you don't write it, not a problem. Don't write this right now if it's confusing you. But I'll explain to you later. All right. The main part that I want to explain to you right now are these environment variables, which you have seen in the main.go file that you've written for payments and the main.go file that you've written for your shop. And these are the things that I was not able to explain to you last time. So that's why I'm trying to explain it to you using the environment from monolith. So for monolith, we have used environment variable, this one, shop monolith by address, right? Similarly, we'll have something for orders. Right now, I'll just say build, put a dot here, and there will be an entry point, and there will be ports. Put a tab, and for ports, I want this to be running on port 8070. Now comes the most important part, which would have confused you in the other files. It's the environment variables, right? So we're just passing environment variables directly from our Docker Compose file. So the first one that I'm going to keep here is shop orders service bind address, which will be equal to 8080. Then you have your shop. I'll have to adjust my mic. Shop rabbit MQ address is going to be rabbit MQ 5672. And after this, I'll say shop rabbit MQ orders to pay Q is equal to orders to pay. So we've created a queue using RabbitMQ, okay? And shop service address is equal to HTTP shop 8080. So shop 8080 will be the address when we start this project for interacting with this particular microservice, or you can also access port 8070 to interact with this microservice. And this microservice is also connected using RabbitMQ address on port 5672. All right, and this is the queue. The queue is called orders to pay. Now we'll work on. So yeah, you can add volumes here, but I won't add volumes right now. I'll just leave it empty. And what I'll actually add is depends on. So what does the service depend on? It depends on, as you know, RabbitMQ. So now we have two microservices more left. One is the payments one is the shop one. So first I'll use the shop one because shop one is straightforward. So for build, I'll say dot here, and then there'll be some entry point into this microservice. Okay. And we'll have our volumes that I'll leave empty for now. Environment shop service binding address 8080. And I'll start the ports. (8071) and 8080. So this means that this microservice, the shop microservice, is available to us on port 8071. Orders is available to us on port 8070, and the monolith is available to us on 8090. And as you know, I have already told you that payments microservice does not interact with the user directly. It only interacts with the orders microservice. Okay, so that's why we're having to use RabbitMQ, because we want to talk. We want our orders and payments microservice to talk to each other. And our shop microservice won't be attached to RabbitMQ. Okay, it won't depend on RabbitMQ. Actually, it will depend on RabbitMQ. It will depend on RabbitMQ, but it won't talk to the payments microservice. Okay. So we'll say depends on RabbitMQ. Perfect. Now comes your payments microservice. Here we'll say build dot, we'll have an entry point, and we'll have volumes, environment. So the environment we'll say RabbitMQ, because you know that this is connected to RabbitMQ, right? Your orders and payments are connected. So you'll say RabbitMQ address is equal to RabbitMQ port 5672, and shop RabbitMQ orders to pay queue is equal to orders to pay. So now I'm sure you're understanding what's happening here. Orders and payments are connected to each other using the queue that we have created between them using RabbitMQ, and it's called orders to pay. That's the queue. Okay. So for all the orders for which the payment has to be made, they are getting added into this queue, and then those orders are being processed in the payments microservice as well. Okay. And here we'll say shop orders service address is equal to HTTP orders 8080. So you can access it on orders 8080 or shop 8080, or you can access them on port like localhost 8070 and localhost 8090 and localhost 8071 respectively. Okay. So that's what's happening. And your payment microservice obviously depends on RabbitMQ. All right. So this file is not complete yet, Docker Compose file. But I usually create this kind of a file at the end of the video, but at the end of the video series, I meant. But I did it right now so that you can understand that, where are we getting these things from? What's the context, as in what are these things, the different variables that we're using, right? All these environment variables that you've seen being used here. As in, when we say wait for service, what does that mean? When we say create new client on with this address, what does that mean? And when we say, RabbitMQ address, what does that mean? So all of those things, now since they make sense to you after our Docker Compose file, now we can proceed further. And I hope they make sense to you. I can try to explain once more quickly in summary. What we're doing here is we're starting 4 services: monolith, orders, payments, and shop. And we are passing environment variables from our Docker Compose file, and those variables are being used here, like in our payments microservice file, the main file, and shop microservice main file. Okay, and the variables that we'll be using are basically you're telling it what's the port that you need to be working on, what's the RabbitMQ address if you want to connect your orders and payments. That we want them to work together because we have a queue called orders to pay, where whenever we process an order, we also want to process the payment. So that's why it'll get added to the orders to pay queue. And we also want to tell it, what's the service address. So it's shop 8080 or orders 8080. But instead of using this, you can directly say localhost 8070 or localhost 8090 or 8071, and it'll work perfectly fine. Okay. So I hope that's kind of clear. If it's not clear, do let me know in the comments below. I'll help you out. Don't worry. Now, I want you to open this file called pkg common and cmd. Inside that, we'll open up the router.go file. Close all the other files so that they don't confuse you. And in this, we're going to write very simple and straightforward code. Okay. So just if it's possible for you, like I have done, just open up the Chi middleware syntax. I sometimes forget it. I sometimes forget the syntax, so it's important for me to keep it open. But if you can remember it, it'll be amazing. But if you're new to the Chi router, CHI router, do open up the documentation and just read about the functions a little bit. It'll just help you a little because I'm going to be using those functions here. So I'll import. Obviously, I'll import the Chi router. So I'll say github.com/go Chi/Chi, right? And you want the middleware as well. So you'll say github.com/go-chi/chi/middleware. And you'll have a function called func create router *chi.mux. And this is what you need to remember. So it says the function that we need is called new router function. It's you get it using the G library. Okay, so this I sometimes forget, and we also want to use the middleware. So we'll say middleware dot logger, and what you return from this function is your R, your router basically. All right. Now the next file we can tackle is the wait.go file. So open up the wait.go file. And it's a simple straightforward file. What we're doing here is we're saying package cmd. That's part of the package cmd. Import log net and time, 3 things. And we say wait for service. Now, just to give you more context, in this payments, in the microservices folder, payments.go file, and yeah, I think that's where we've used it. Yeah. So payment service, microservices folder, payments folder, and main.go file. We have used a function called cmd.waitForService. So in the last video we wrote this function, and I'm sure at that time you may be confused as to what are we doing here. You know, what is this function doing? So that's the function we're building right now. It's part of package cmd, and the function is called waitForService, and you pass this RabbitMQ address to it. Okay, so let's see what it does. So it takes a host, which in our case is the RabbitMQ address, which is a string, and it firstly will print out waiting for the host, and then we'll start a for loop. We'll print f testing connection to %s, which is the host, and we'll use the net package to dial TCP dial on it, and we'll keep calling the host again and again to check if the connection is open. So we'll capture that in a variable called con, and we'll also have error. Now we'll handle the error. So we'll say if error is equal to nil, connection dot close, log dot print f, comma host, and return from here. Out here you'll say time dot sleep, time dot millisecond 500. So every 500 milliseconds you're basically checking the connection to the host. All right, the host is basically, as you know, RabbitMQ, and we're checking if our payment service is connected to it, because in our payments main.go file we have called for this function. All right. So for now, for this video, I think for the context of this video will just end here. We have done quite a bit. So just if you have any doubts, if you have any issues, let me know, ask them in the comments below, and let me know how is this going with this series. This is slightly complicated, right? The project is slightly complicated, so there are a lot of variables, a lot of things happening here, and it's quite possible that you may not understand many things. And don't worry about that. You can ask me. I'm trying to explain every single line, so I'm assuming that you probably don't have much experience with microservices and microservices interacting using RabbitMQ and queues. So I'm assuming that, and I'm explaining everything step by step. But with a project like this, which is a microservices project, sometimes you don't know where to start. How do you start this? How do you begin writing? So sometimes what I'll do is I'll just write some code, and in the next video I'll explain to you. Like last time I wrote all this, and it didn't probably make much sense to you. But in this video, I'm sure it made everything made sense. Because I've also explained to you this function, as in what it's doing and what it's there for. So now I'm hoping everything makes more sense to you. And there's still things left like this, and I mean, why this is passed and what this is doing. It's creating a new client, but we have to write this function right somewhere. So things will make more sense slowly as we build along. So thank you for watching, and do subscribe to this channel so that you can stay updated when the new video of the series comes out. And I'll see you in the next episode. Thank you.